It's time to go back.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to another guest list episode of Generation S. It's a podcast about growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. Although, I got to tell you, Ryan, by the way, welcome back, Ryan. You are the guest list presenter for the week. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Dude, we had got some fantastic feedback on our episode from last week, talking all about music. So if you haven't heard that episode yet, go back and give it a listen. I promise you, at least from what everyone's telling me, and it is worth it. What do you think it was, man? Because I was getting comments from people that I didn't think would ever listen to the podcast.
Right. And I think what stood out to me is people that were asking you questions and you actually had to say, I don't remember because we recorded it so long ago.
Yeah.
And what's weird is obviously that episode came out today and we're recording the top 10 at the same time.
Yes.
That episode came out.
We are capitalizing on it.
Yeah, and the top 10's coming out next week.
Yep.
People are going to get confused by me saying that because they're going to be like, wait, what am I listening to then? But it's kind of weird because initially, if I remember correctly, my first episode wasn't supposed to come out till sometime in December.
Yeah.
And then you kind of moved it up. You're like, wait, I have a block of time here. Why don't we just kind of do it a little bit earlier? It's like, whatever's clever.
Yeah, no, man. And I'm glad we did because, like I said, it got some great reviews. We talked all about music, right? It's the universal language. And I think just based on the feedback we got from just it coming out today, again, so that episode launched today. You're not hearing this until a week later. So try to just wrap your brain around that. But, my mother-in-law, she's like, this is the first episode I listened to, but it's really good. I'm like, yes. All right, man. I gotcha. So, it truly shows that something like music, it really is, it's cross-generational, it's cross-cultural, it's cross everything. I mean, you can have a conversation about music because it's one of those things that it's not like you didn't listen, even if you didn't grow up in the 90s and 2000s, it's not like, if let's say you're older, it's not like you didn't listen to those songs because they were popular for everybody at the time. And so it was really cool just to see, I'm seeing those connections from this. And so hopefully we can do other episodes in the future that kind of can tie people together and show.
Right.
Because, initially, the whole idea of the podcast was just to have a connection with people that grew up when we did and show that, hey, no matter where you are in the world, you probably felt the same way we did about a lot of this stuff. But there's also going to be opportunities now to kind of have that transcend across generations. So let's say you were a 70s baby or an 80s baby. You know what? There may be a topic or two that we come out with that you'd be like, you know what? I can relate to that. One of the ones that you suggested we do, and I'm totally down with it, is talking about like the shopping mall culture. Because that has spanned decades at this point. Probably not now as much, and I'm sure we'll talk about that too. But something like that definitely transcends, across generations, like music or, holidays. So many things where we can reach out beyond this generation and still kind of focus on, how we felt about it from our perspective.
Right.
I think we can kind of educate those other generations on how we felt about some of these things.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to try and educate, other generations. They're kind of difficult.
Listen, man.
This is why I cannot be a parent, because I have no patience for the individuals probably under the age of 30, because I don't necessarily consider them human yet.
Well, listen, they're not. I will grant you, they're probably not done cooking until like they're 27 or 28 or something. But they're mostly well done. Like you could take, if they were a steak, you'd take them out and you wouldn't get any kind of like cholera or what do you get from steak? Is it cholera or what's the one that you get from red meat if it's undercooked?
I think that's E. coli.
No, you're right. E. coli, not cholera. E. coli. And yeah, I kind of just likened young humans to cannibalism. So I'm thinking about that out loud. It didn't. I'm going to leave it in. I'm not going to take it out of the recording, but
the fact that we're in the middle of October, actually no, toward the end of October now.
Yeah.
And the big craze right now is the Jeffrey Dahmer thing on Netflix.
Yes, cannibalism, man. See, we're being topical without even realizing we're being topical.
Right.
So go us.
So
have you? So real quick, have you watched that show yet or no?
I have absolutely no desire to, but I know that Amanda probably will at some point. She has a very strange interest in serial killers, which scares me, but makes me glad that we do the podcast remotely right now, because if I end up making her mad, she doesn't plan my death.
Yeah, man. By the way, so you and Amanda, I should just remind everyone, we talked about it on the last episode, but you guys have your own podcast, the Chaos and Conversation podcast. Right. And real quick, man, just give listeners a taste of what that's all about once again.
Basically, I might have explained it in the first episode. Basically, we started it because we were kind of getting tired of people around us not being willing to have conversations with each other because they were afraid of disagreeing with one another. And I think what it's kind of evolved into is just good conversation with a lot of hysterical chaos, because Amanda and I can't necessarily keep a straight face for an entire episode. So we end up just goofing off or laughing at the most ridiculous stuff. So that's where the chaos comes in. Well, because we try to have a conversation and it just devolves.
Yep.
But it devolves in the best way.
Well, and again, I do believe, again, we recorded that last episode like almost 2 months ago at this point. But yeah. I do recall us talking about the fact that you're right. Some people are afraid to have conversations. And here's the thing. You can have a conversation with somebody and, dare I say, disagree with them, and you can still be friends with them. Like, I know that sounds so trivial and simple, but you'd be surprised how many friendships have ended over stupid disagreements. And I'm not going to say that I certainly haven't been affected by that myself, as far as people posting something online that I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. And does it change my perception of them? I hate to admit it, but sometimes it does, and I know it shouldn't, right? And so, but I think we just need to be more open-minded and be willing to carry on conversations that we may get uncomfortable with.
Oh, yeah, because not everybody is going to have the same amount of information on a topic, so you have to understand that it's very possible that something that you don't fully understand, somebody else might understand better than you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And in fact, that is why you have curated a guest list. Do you like that organic segue I did into the to the core of the topic? You know how much I love, or I should say, I know how much you love when I keep you on track on these things.
Yes.
Oh man. So anyway, I'm going to re-explain here the concept of the guest list. So essentially what we do is we have the guest of the podcast from the week prior curate a top 10 list. It could be whatever they want it to be, as long as it pertains to the topic. Now, obviously, in the topic of music from growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, you have a lot of options, Ryan. And so I am curious, what top 10 list have you put together for today?
As much as the 90s were very well known for this, and I don't know why, because there was a lot of great music in the 90s, but I don't think I even understood the sheer number of just number one or one-hit wonders.
A lot of one-hit wonders.
It blew me away because, you hear so many songs that you are almost in love with, and you're like, okay, that band or that artist has to have more that is a hit. And if you really think about it, that artist may be a hit with you, but may not be a commercial hit.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because you spent more time in radio, what is your perspective on one-hit wonders? Because I'm thinking that you probably played some
the
stations that you've worked for.
Yeah, actually a few stations I worked for. We would play, I guess they were one-hit wonders. At the time, they were, fairly popular songs, and they were decent songs. And we would honestly, we started playing some of these one-hit wonder folks around the time when we were having like a concert that they were going to be a part of locally in the area. So we would start kind of putting their music into rotation to give people a feel for what to expect when it's showtime. But I think, and this is just a theory, I literally have done no research on this, so whoever's listening to this, feel free to skewer me after you hear it, but I feel like before the 90s, the barrier to entry, because and I'm going to equate it to like YouTube in a second here, but like the barrier to entry to get into mainstream media exposure got a lot easier after the 70s and maybe relaxed a little in the 80s. And now you still have one-hit wonders, obviously, but the problem now is that we've kind of gone past everyone can, there's more opportunity to get yourself on the radio. And, while that's still technically true, what happens is it's like YouTube, where when it started out, anyone could put a video on YouTube, and the chance of them going viral, which back then I think was only like a few 100,000 views and you were considered viral, right? Whereas now, now it's millions and millions to be considered viral. But anyway, my point being is, back then it was easy to get in, and now it's so competitive that it's back to getting, only certain artists are getting most of the airtime because of the mainstream popularity. But I also think that, that has to do with the fact that there's so many other ways to get music now aside from the radio that it's not necessarily as revered as much as it used to be.
Right. And it's weird because the music that I loved, I didn't know that these artists were one-hit wonders.
Yeah, because you know them for that song, and then you never bother to say, oh, what else did they come out with? A perfect example. Well, no, I don't want to say it, because if it's on your list, I'll feel bad for ruining it. So never mind. I'm not going to say it.
I have some of the most obscure things on my list, so it's probably not even on there.
Okay, so if I say it, like, it's okay, you're not going to get mad at me?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because I think the important aspect of it is explaining why it's on my list.
Yeah.
So even if you mention it, it's not going to take away from why it's on my list.
That's totally fair. Okay, so I was going to say Baha Men's Who Let the Dogs Out. Okay, so that you're laughing right now, so it's not on your list. But let me tell you what, man, for the first time ever, and this was probably about a year ago, I said, you know what, I'm going to listen to the rest of that album, because you can get any album you want to now online. And so I started listening. I forget the name of the actual album. It might have actually been called Who Let the Dogs Out. I honestly can't remember. But let me tell you what, dude, those guys freaking slap. I mean, that was a hell of an album, and none of the other songs got airplay, and so they kind of just fizzled, and that's all they're known for, is that one song that everyone, let's be honest, they still know it. But dude, the rest of that album is fantastic. So it's almost a real shame that they didn't take off more than they did.
Do you realize, and you probably not, do you realize that song by them is actually a cover?
I had no idea.
The song actually originated, I believe they said, back in the 40s or 50s.
Oh, really?
So it's been covered several times. The one that just took off was the one from the Baha Men.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, listen,
I won't tell you what the origin of their lyrics are, because we want to keep this PG, but I'll tell you off air.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Well, listen, I am excited. I am very, very truly intrigued to hear your top 10 list here. So let's go ahead and kick things off with number 10.
Number 10. Now, you have known me long enough to understand that I have a very, very strange sense of humor. So, to your listeners, some of these are going to sound very obscure, but I have a very strange sense of humor as to how music relates to me. Number 10 for me is House of Pain, Jump Around.
Okay, so I have a memory of that song. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'd be curious if it's your memory too. I mean, maybe not, but I first heard that song from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, I heard it probably much younger, I think.
Okay. Because when did it come out? Do you remember?
That I did not look up.
Probably early 90s, I would think, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Early 90s.
So, because Mrs. Doubtfire came out in 93 or 94. I can't remember which one. But I remember it was playing during the party scene when all the kids are going crazy because Robin Williams' character Daniel just lets the kids run wild for his son's birthday party. And that song was playing, and I was, I love that song. So whenever I hear that song, and I still hear it, because it is still very popular. I actually heard it at the Pitbull concert that I mentioned the other day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was just like the DJ between sets was playing it, and like everyone knew it, so it was really cool. So anyway, that one is definitely kind of stood the test of time. But I guess I just never. It's one of those where I never followed up with the artist or with the group to see what else they did.
Right. And actually, I have a bit of a information logged in with this one that's probably going to blow your mind.
Okay.
But to kind of jump off into why it's on my list. Now, like I said, I have a very strange sense of humor. You obviously know that I'm in a wheelchair, and I crack jokes about it all the time.
Yep.
So currently I'm 37, so I don't go out to the bars anymore. I don't go out drinking. I can't hang with them anymore. But back in my drinking days, when I would go bar hopping with friends, there were two friends of mine, John and Ed, and they were home on leave because they were both in the military. They were home on leave, and we happened to meet up at the same bar. There was a cover band that was playing at the bar, and they started playing Jump Around. Dan, when I say this has probably never happened to anybody else, I'm going to stick by it. These fools lifted me up while I was still in my chair because the band was playing Jump Around, and they were thrusting my chair up and down.
Oh, they lifted the chair up too?
Oh, yeah. And ever since then, it's just kind of been my theme song. And when I tell people that Jump Around is my theme song, and they are actually able to fully see me, the looks that I get would probably make some people die. But I just want to fall out of my chair laughing.
So are you also a fan of Van Halen's Jump?
No, because David Lee Roth is... we won't go there. I don't like David Lee Roth.
Okay, I have one more question pertaining to that, and God forgive me. If you're in a wheelchair, can you really call it bar hopping? Shouldn't you call it bar rolling?
As much as I used to drink, I tried. And I mean, they call it bar crawling too. So I
guess you could pull that off. That's true. Yeah, you could do a bar crawl, like no doubt. I'm sure your upper body strength would more than accommodate for that. So
the other thing that I had tied in with House of Pain that I want to see if you know because of working in radio, I was watching a video getting ready for this episode, and something they said, and it was specifically about House of Pain. They said that there are often times we don't realize that when a band is considered a one-hit wonder, and then on the off chance that their lead singer leaves and becomes a solo artist, there's a chance that that singer can also become a one-hit wonder. This is one of those times.
Okay.
Because Everlast was the lead singer of House of Pain. And when Everlast left House of Pain, he went on a solo career, and he only had one hit that ever charted high enough, and it was What It's Like.
Which I know that song as well. I did not realize. I was not putting two and two together. Now, that's not on your list, though. We calling that an honorable mention?
Yeah, I only use that just to explain the whole band and solo artist number ones.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, listen, we're starting this list off with a bang. A fantastic choice. Okay, well, let's keep things moving on that front then. So what do you have for number 9?
Another one. Another one that pertains to my sense of humor. Now, obviously, being in a wheelchair, I didn't have the opportunity to grow big and strong. So I'm not some, 6'5", linebacker. So another one that my friends actually introduced me to probably when I was in high school, that ended up being another one of my theme songs. I Wish by Skilo.
That one,
that song?
That
I
one
wish
doesn't
it was
sound
a little
familiar.
bit taller.
Oh,
I wish
yeah.
it was a yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that's why that one. And like I said, my liner notes. The only reason it's one of my favorites is because I like to troll people with it.
Yeah.
And it's fun to have people look at me singing it when it comes on, and they wonder why I go up and request it. And it's just fun to make people kind of look over and go, what in the world? How am I supposed to react to that?
Well, you have that advantage, right? You can because you can totally play that up to people, right? And be like they're worried about offending you, and obviously it's very hard to offend you. I've known you for a long time now,
Yeah.
but they don't know that, and so yeah, they could they just look over at you and go, "Uh-oh, what do we do, Joan? I don't know, Bill. I don't know what we do." Oh, dude, that's great. I guess I never knew what that one was called, and so never did anything else much past that song. That was like their peak.
As far as I know, I think we talked about it in the first episode, that tour that they call the I Love the 90s tour.
Yeah.
I think at one point briefly, Skilo actually was on it for a couple of tour stops. But no, he hasn't done I don't think he's done anything as far as recording. I think he might still be producing or writing, but I don't think he's still recording.
So that was really his peak as far as mainstream exposure and all that. So, okay, but maybe involved in music still to some degree.
Because he was like the Muggsy Bogues of music.
There you go. Well, he wishes he was a little bit taller, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right, man. Well, let's keep things going then. Number 8.
Number 8, and people are probably gonna, they're probably listening to this going, what in the why, just why? Meredith Brooks' Bitch.
I knew that song. I played that song on the radio station I worked at. And I loved introducing it because I could say it on the air without getting in trouble.
Right. And me at my age, I loved it because I could actually sing it and my mom not yell at me and try to, throw things at me to get me to not sing it.
Now, why is that, though? Because I'm sure, if you were to listen to hardcore rap in front of her, you probably couldn't rap those lyrics to her without her getting uncomfortable.
The first rap album I was actually able to get in the house that was uncensored was Eminem's My Name Is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the Slim Shady
album. The Slim Shady,
album.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, all right. So before that, you would hear, bitch on the radio and then sing it to her? Did you actually have that cassette tape or CD?
No, I wouldn't sing it to my mother. Are you nuts?
Well, that's what I thought you were talking about.
No, I would not sing it to my mother. I would sing it around her. If I sang it to my mother, I'd be a quadriplegic.
Well, what's the difference? If you're singing it in the room with her versus singing it to her, you're not calling her a bitch. You're saying, I'm a bitch.
Are you?
Listen, man, this could go all night. I don't even know. So, yeah, she never did anything beyond that song because that was the only one I ever played from her. And that was because that was in the 90s as well. And I played it in the mid 2000s because we were kind of a throwback rock station. So we would play 90s rock and alternative type stuff.
It was, I believe, 97 is when it came out.
Yep.
And the reason that I have it on my list, and this is probably going to make a lot of people feel old if they remember this, is something you and I were discussing earlier. The whole reason that I got addicted to this song was because I didn't actually hear it until a few years after it had already been released. I was already in high school in 2000 when I heard it for the first time. But the reason that it kind of stuck with me, there was a promotion that Pizza Hut did in 2000 where you could go on the Pizza Hut website and you could pick from a whole catalog of songs that they had gotten certain publishing rights to, I guess.
Okay.
And what they allowed you to do is, I think it was $5-10 if you paid $5 or $10, you could actually get them to make you your own Pizza Hut Mega Mix CD.
Oh, wow.
And have it sent to you in the mail.
So like they would burn you a CD basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it would literally, the label on it would have like, the Pizza Hut logo, and it would say Pizza Hut Mega Mix or something along those lines. And they would send it to you. And it's really, like, this just shows how bad my memory is. It's the only song I remember that was on that album. I don't remember what other 10 or 12 or 8 or songs were on there.
You know what? Side note, talking about Pizza Hut, and this actually, this relates to something that happened to me recently in real life. So we were driving up to a fall festival here, and we drove by a Pizza Hut, but not like a shopping center, tiny little ass walk in, get your pizza, walk out Pizza Hut. This is like a sit down restaurant Pizza Hut with like the old logo. And I confirmed, I Googled it. It is still in service. Like you can go there and still sit down and have a pizza. And for the love of God, I want to go in there and see if they still have the Neo Geo arcade cabinets in the entrance when you walk in, because you remember those when you go into Pizza Hut? My mom would never let me play those games, but like I always wanted to while our pizza was getting made. I wanted to go play the arcade games.
Are they the ones that looked like a table and you had to look down into the screen?
Well, you had those. The one I had, the one that was in Queensbury that I used to go to, had the full stand. Now, it was the stand-up cabinet with the red, but it had like different games you could choose from on it. So you had like Metal Slug, and I forget what the other ones were. But it was
the one I remember was it looked like a table, but you had to like
I've
hoist
seen
yourself
those
up and look down.
Yeah,
and I was never tall enough. Pizza Hut, you suck. I was never tall enough to look down in.
Well, I mean, would you have been tall enough for the other stand-up arcade cabinet?
Don't make me come down to Atlanta, dude.
I'm just saying, man.
I will take you out at the shins.
Well, it's not my fault that I mean, yeah, I was going to say I could run faster than you, but probably not, because you got those wheels, man. You got jet engines. I don't know what you got down there, bro.
Dan, everybody can run faster than me.
Well, I know, but when you have wheels, I'm just saying, you can, you get going down a hill, bro. Like I'm not going to outrun you.
I'm not gonna say that I would be faster than you, but I will say that it is almost guaranteed that I have more upper body strength than you do.
And, kinetic energy built up from the chair. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway, I miss Pizza Hut, and I really want to go back to Pizza Hut. That's the whole moral of that story. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's keep going then. We got number 7 next. What do you got for number 7?
So number 7 is actually something I brought up in the first episode. It's Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
And it's purely my favorite because it was the first time I was exposed to a CD.
Okay.
And so it has that.
That was your mom's CD, right? That was your mom's? The one that you stole from her.
Yeah. I permanently borrowed it.
Right.
Let's just make it sound a little bit better.
That's fair.
I'm not a criminal, I swear.
You wouldn't sing, you won't sing bitch to her, you won't steal her CDs. I understand, Ryan. It's okay.
Like I said, the reason it's my favorite is because it was the first time I was exposed to it. But another cool fact that I found, because I felt like, just because it was the first time I was exposed to a CD, I felt like it needed a little bit more. I don't know if you remember, Prince was the one that wrote that song and first recorded it.
Yep.
Back in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
But he never released it. He didn't. My understanding is he didn't like how it sounded when he did it. So he actually gave it to Sinead O'Connor, and she released it on January 3rd of 1990 was when it was released. And it just took off like a bullet. And other music related, are you familiar with what music icon was born on January 3rd?
January 3rd?
Yes.
It's a very specific date, Ryan.
Worldwide icon.
Worldwide icon. It's a male or female singer?
Male.
Male singer. January 3rd. Is it Bono?
No. Elvis Presley.
That was my third guess. Damn it. I still need to see that movie, by the way. I've not seen Elvis yet.
I haven't either.
All right.
I need to.
We'll need to do that. Maybe we'll do like a review for the YouTube channel.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Side note, check out the Generation S YouTube channel, folks. There's not much there yet, but we do have full episodes that get uploaded. Plus, we're going to start putting out more exclusive YouTube content, like a potential movie review. We put out some video game reviews. And anyway, I digress. Okay, fantastic choice for lucky number 7. And yeah, totally did not know that Elvis was born on January 3rd, but now I do. All right. That brings us down or up, however you want to look at it, to number 6.
6 would have to be Play That Funky Music, not the Wild Cherry version, but the Vanilla Ice version.
I did not know that was a thing, or maybe I didn't realize that was a thing.
I actually knew about the Vanilla Ice version before I knew who Wild Cherry was. And this and another Vanilla Ice song, like, or later in the list,
So hold on a second. If you've got Vanilla Ice twice, does that technically mean he's not a one-hit wonder?
No, because, and this is one thing that I got confused about, because my interpretation of a one-hit wonder was somebody who only had, whose only hit was at number 1. Like,
okay. So we're talking one-hit wonder as in, like, that song actually topped the charts.
Yeah, but I don't think Play That Funky Music was at number 1.
Okay.
Obviously, the one that we know by Vanilla Ice was.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll talk about that one shortly.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
But the reason that Play That Funky Music was one of my favorites is because it has a family memory connected to it, because my uncle, my mom's oldest brother, we used to call him Captain Video. We still kind of do. But he would always have a video camera on his shoulder.
Okay.
And this man has 7 kids. He didn't at the time, but this was when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. We were over to his house, and his 3 oldest boys and the 2 youngest, were there. And we were all just hanging out, and we decided to make a very long music video of several songs.
Okay.
And Play That Funky Music happened to be one of them.
Nice. The Vanilla Ice version.
Yes.
Nice. There you go.
And they dressed my ass up like the white boy, because it was Play That Funky Music, white boy.
Well, sure, man. I mean, yeah.
I didn't do much in the music video. I just kind of sat there, but it was...
God, you're so lazy, Ryan. Jeez.
I didn't want to get up on my feet, Dan. My feet hurt that day.
Oh, my God. You know what? It's a good thing we're not making this calling out your wheelchair stuff like a drinking game, because I'm pretty sure people will be drunk driving right now. So...
I can get in trouble for drunk driving.
Can you really?
Wheeling while intoxicated.
Is that a real thing?
I was told that by the cops in Glens Falls, New York.
Well, that doesn't mean it's true.
Oh no, it's true.
Okay.
Like, I've heard it from cops down here in Virginia.
So
too.
a WWI.
A World War I.
A World War I. I got another one in for the World War I. Yeah, roll him on into the drunk tank. Okay. Put on his brakes and make sure his hands can't reach him. You know?
Right.
Oh, God. Okay. That's a really cool. And you know what? Before we get to number 5, I do want to say, like, I really appreciate that not only are you giving, just because there was a lot of one-hit wonders, but the fact that they are tied to you personally, meaning that, like,
Yeah.
I could do this episode all over again with somebody else and get a totally different top 10 list.
Oh, absolutely.
And from their own personal experiences. So I just want to stop and say that. I think that's really cool that, you know, these are personal, these are meaningful one-hit wonders, and you didn't just go to Wikipedia and pick the random top 10 on the Billboard. So,
oh no, I have to pick. You know me, and you know how much I connect to music.
yes.
I'm not just gonna pick songs, because there were songs that I listened to that were listed in all of these lists that I looked at.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at them like, okay, I like listening to that song, but it's not something I would actively go seek out.
Yeah.
there are one-hit wonders that I will actively go seek out and listen to.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, listen, that brings us to the halfway point of the guest list episode, which is number 5.
Number 5 is probably the most, I'm going to try and get this word out, obscure song on my list.
Okay.
Because I guarantee there isn't a third of the population that probably remembers this song. I don't know how I came upon hearing this song, but I remember I was 13, and it was kind of when I started listening to not older music, but I was listening to the music that older friends were starting to listen to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like you call it like big kid music. Like there were songs that like the bigger kids were starting to listen to that maybe you didn't resonate with as a youngin'.
Because, you're 13, you start, and especially in the neighborhood that I was in, there were kids of all ages, and a lot of them were already in high school.
Yep.
And after researching this song, I understand why they listened to this, because those particular kids were very much into alcohol.
Well, okay.
So this song is called Hooch by Everything.
Oh my God, I played that song all the time. I didn't want to. It was always in rotation.
I love that song. Anytime. I mean, obviously they never played on the radio anymore, but it's still one of my favorites that I will sit there and just jam the hell out to.
Yeah. It's not a bad song. I'm not going to say it's a bad song because it's not, but it always showed up. So my program director at the radio station would always, I think because he would just sneak things in. He always told me like, hey, if you want to play something, just play whatever you want. By the way, that doesn't normally work in radio, folks. You can't just play whatever you want. He just, in this case, was like, yeah, just make sure it's reasonable. If it's Coldplay, make sure Coldplay didn't play an hour ago. And I'm like, all right, whatever, Sean, you got it. I had a lot of fun, man. It was good times. But that song always came up in the clocks, in the format clocks. So there was certainly somebody behind the scenes that was pushing for it. Which again, not a bad song. I did hear it a lot more than I initially intended to, though.
And I think that was one of the reasons why I knew I wasn't going to last in radio, because for the way that I connect with music, I don't think I ever wanted to get sick of hearing songs. And I knew that
it happens.
Because what was that song that was popular when it was the early 2000s? It was a song by Guster.
Yes, I played it all the time.
The Point played it too, and
well, that's what I'm saying. When I worked at the Point, that's
that's
what we played.
And when I was doing the internship there, that was one of the things that they played constantly. And for the first 60 times, I liked it. I can't stomach hearing it anymore, and it bothers me because I loved that song so much.
I remember we played them a lot because I think they were going to be in a concert at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, or maybe the Civic Center or something.
It's entirely possible.
I think they were there because I remember the promo, because I used to have to like hype up the concert all the time, but I can't remember what the lineup was. But I feel like Guster was among them. Because I do remember songs by Guster were in the rotation, because I remember I had to introduce them. But that's about all I remember about them. So anyway, okay, so number 5, Everything Hooch, fantastic. Let's go ahead and keep going then. We got number 4.
Now, this one is also an obscure one because it's probably not remembered by a lot of people. You Get What You Give by New Radicals.
Yep, love that one too.
And I always liked singing it because there was name recognition in the song, in the lyrics. Like, there was certain names that they would call out that I recognized. But I didn't really understand the purpose of the song until I was probably 25. And I was a little bit more socially aware. Because if you remember, one of the lyrics is, fashion shoots with Beckin Hansen, Courtney Love and Marilyn Manson. You're all fake. Go to your mansions. Come around and we'll kick your asses.
Yep.
And I apologize. I know I said I wouldn't swear.
I mean, we said bitch earlier. I think we're still in PG.
I know.
We're good.
I just don't like swearing on your podcast because it's not what you do. So, but the thing that is so compelling to me with this song is that it's a song that honestly is timeless.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, well, it's a one-hit wonder. Why is it timeless? It's timeless because...
I disagree. There's plenty of one-hit wonders that are timeless because it doesn't matter if they had more songs. If that song is great and has great meaning, it's going to be timeless.
True. But I think this one is the true kind of middle finger to people who think that they're better than you because they have money.
Yeah.
Or that they think that they're elite. And I know that with the celebrities that I've met, that not every celebrity thinks that they are an elite person that are above you. But in this particular song, he's calling out all of, the people that think that they can just throw money around and make decisions that affect other people that they have never met in their lives.
Yep.
And so it's kind of our version of a fight song.
Kinda. I can see that.
It.
No, it was in a movie that I watched. I remember it was like the end credits of a movie that I watched from the 90s. Because it was almost that perfect representation of that counterculture where, the materialism of the 80s was waning, right? And you had this new kind of grunge, because that's really kind of what you'd almost categorize as like a grunge rock. It wasn't as hard as like a Nirvana or Pearl Jam, but I almost equate it with that same, I guess, just the counterculture movement of it. Of the 90s, because that was a big thing of the 90s, especially the early 90s when the economy was, kind of down the toilet. You had this new face of music, of culture, of pop culture that was very much very different than what you were seeing in the decade prior. So
yeah, that's
a fantastic choice. I love that. All right, man. So we have entered the top 3 territory, and I'm going to ask you for honorable mentions, but not yet. We're going to wait. We're going to save those before we get to number 1.
Perfectly fine.
Yep. So we got our top 3 here. Let's just get into it then. What do you got for number 3?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh, I love that song. My whole family loves that song. My kids love that song. When did that came out in like the early 2000s, right?
95.
Are you serious?
95.
Oh my God.
It didn't pick up popularity because the Rednecks were the ones that recorded it. They're a Swedish group. They recorded it, but they originally recorded it as a straight country song, and it didn't pick up in the U.S. until they kind of put the banjo, like the...
Well, they remixed it, basically.
They remixed it, and they put like a metal type of banjo to it and sped it up. I think that's what they did. But this song, along with We Like to Party, and that's not on the list, but I'm just mentioning that because it's in the same realm as why I picked this song. It reminds me of the years that I worked at Great Escape.
The theme park. Yeah.
Yes. And because I remember that we brought it up in the previous episode, so that's the only reason I mentioned both songs. But yeah, that was something that we constantly listened to at the park, and I still, to this day, I'll annoy the crap out of people by blasting that song when it comes on.
No, my kids love that song. That was like a COVID song for us, where like we would put that on and just have a random dance party because I was trying to stay sane and didn't know that the world was going to a hell in a handbasket. So like that was like so I actually have very fond memories of that. But even before COVID, it was, to me, it was always the ultimate high school dance song for me, right? You would put that on at the dance and sure enough, like, I mean, especially where we grew up, it was pretty redneck. Like, so many people knew the dance too, and I think I still know it actually too. So it started with high school dances, and then as I got older and would go to weddings, it was very popular at weddings because, let's be honest, the people that are having these weddings are the ones that listen to this song at the high school dance. So of course they want to have it at their wedding too. And so for me, nothing but positive memories. You will, if you're ever playing that song around me, I will never be annoyed because that song is dope. Oh man, excellent choice for number 3. Okay, all right, so that leaves us with number 2.
Number 2 is something, if your audience happens to find my podcast, they'll find an episode that Amanda and I did of the true meanings behind songs. Because we can listen to songs and by the lyrics, we can think we know what they're talking about, or that we can think we know what message they're trying to convey. This one, everybody got wrong, because I didn't know what the meaning of this song was until Amanda and I did the episode of our show. Semisonic Closing Time.
Fantastic song.
And everybody equates closing time with when you go into a bar and the DJ plays that as the last song, kind of as a, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. And I think that's actually in the song too.
It is. That's one of the lyrics.
So I found out that it's not actually a kicking you out of an establishment kind of song. The lead singer wrote it talking about the birth of his either son or daughter, his first child. And my basic understanding, and I don't remember every detail, but he was talking about just the sheer number of changes he would have to go through now that he was becoming a father.
Yeah.
And it scared the crap out of him.
You know, it's funny then. You could almost look at what's the other song that I know? It's the one that's all about childbirth from Creed, With Arms Wide Open.
With Arms Wide Open.
One of my favorite songs. That's almost like a spiritual sequel to it, right? That should be like a whole album of like your journey through accepting fatherhood or motherhood or whatever. That would be amazing. Like you just start off with like party pop songs and you work your way into like, you got to throw in Graduation from Vitamin C because that's what everyone did. And then,
oh my God. We're already old. Can you not make me feel older, please?
Do people not know that song anymore? Come on. People got to know that song still.
No, I think we do, but I don't think a lot of people, even the ones that liked it when it was popular, I don't think they would remember it until, they wouldn't have what I call active recall. They wouldn't be able to just vomit that up. You would have to actually remind their brain.
That's fair. That for me, I know it's not my list, but that to me would be an honorable mention, one-hit wonder as well as Graduation Song by Vitamin C, because fantastic memories associated with that. I'm pretty sure I made a couple of slideshows on my computer with my high school friends with that song in the background, and a perfect segue into Green Day's Time of Your Life, or it's not called Time of Your Life, but you know the song.
Good Riddance.
Good Riddance. There it is. I think in parentheses it says Time of Your Life on the CD.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, see, there it is. All right, cool. All right, well, listen, I'm not trying to hijack your top 10 list, but that was a fantastic number 2, no pun intended. So
what he's trying to say is that was good shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well, listen, dude, before we get to number 1, okay, this is going to be like the primo number 1 on your list. What do we got for honorable mentions? I feel like you got to have a couple extra in here. We just want to quickly shout out.
I do have one. I didn't put too many in because I didn't want to take up too much time.
Okay.
It's also a Vanilla Ice song. It's Ice Ice Baby, which everybody knows whether they want to or not. I'm pretty sure you're born knowing the lyrics to that song.
That song is how I learned how to do the worm at high school dances.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Can you still do it?
Could I get back up afterwards at this point? I don't know. I haven't done it. I'm being serious. I have not done the worm in years. I remember the last time I did it. I don't think any of my old coworkers are listening to this, but if they are, they'll laugh at this story. So, I was in sales and I told everyone when I first started at this place, I said, the first sale I close, I'm going to do the worm in the office. They go, no way. I said, you just wait and see. I closed my first sale. It took me about 3 months. And I did the worm. And as soon as I stood up, I looked down and I had torn a hole in my pants on the seam in the front. So as soon as I stood up and was just in awe of myself for how awesome I just did, I look down and I feel a serious breeze. And I don't want to say shrinkage came into the equation, but we'll say that it was definitely on the table as a possibility. And so anyway, guys, if you're listening to me back in my recruiting days at this particular staffing agency, yes, I remember when my pants ripped and I did the worm. No, I'm not ashamed of it. Fond memories, in fact. But anyway, that's a fantastic honorable mention because it's one of my favorite songs. I can't actually rap it. Like somebody said, "Oh, you should do it for karaoke." I can't do it. I tried. They threw me up in karaoke and I could not keep up.
Now, one thing I'll say about that is, do you remember? Because I think had lost its popularity by the time we were in radio. Do you remember the song "I Want You" by Savage Garden? The really fast one, the Chicka Cherry Cola song?
Maybe. I definitely know them for their slower songs. I bet you if I heard that one, I'd probably know it.
This is the first one that they released.
Okay.
It was in, I believe, 96 or 97. And there's a song, and if Mom listens to this episode, she's probably going to start singing it. There's a song from Mom's era called "Life is a Rock" by Reunion. And it was one of the fastest songs of that decade. I think it was the 70s. And I always pick on her because in her time, obviously, the Jurassic era. Sorry, Mom, I love you. They didn't have the internet. So they didn't have the ease of access of looking up lyrics.
Right. So
this just shows how dedicated she was. She sat by the record player, and whenever that song came on the radio, she would sit there and try to copy down the lyrics. Now, after we're done recording, I'll have you listen to that song before we sign off.
Okay.
And you can see how fast it is. So she listened to it, recorded all her lyrics, wrote them all down, showed me this notebook that she wrote them in, and this was probably, I was already a teenager by the time she showed me, but this was about the time we first had the internet in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? I want to look up the lyrics and see how right you were. I think she only had 35 or 40% of the lyrics correct.
Well, yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
"I Want You" by Savage Garden is our generation's "Life is a Rock."
Just because it's so fast.
Yeah, that and Bare Naked Ladies, "1 Week."
Oh, I love that song. I know the parody version better than I know that one. Have you heard the parody version called Jerry Springer?
One.
Yeah, by Jerry.
Yes.
By Weird Al?
Weird Al.
Yes. That one I know actually a lot better than the original because I heard that one before I heard the original one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I had a weird childhood. I think we talked about that. Did I mention in the last episode that one of my first CDs I got was a Weird Al Yankovic CD?
Yes,
yeah.
I think you did.
So that one is on there.
1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies sticks out to me only because my cousin was born around the time that I think that song came out, or he was probably 2 or 3 at the time.
Yeah.
And because he didn't understand the lyrics, he could only pick out certain words. So he used to call it the Chinese chicken song.
Oh, yeah. I think I did too. I think everyone did.
And just, I know we're, going on a couple of rabbit holes here, but the song "Waterfalls" by TLC,
yep.
He used to call that the lipstick song because he didn't understand that they were saying, "Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to."
Okay.
He thought that they were saying, "Please stick to the rivers and the lipstick you're used to." So he would always ask me if we could listen to the lipstick song. The
lipstick song. Okay, that's a new one. I like that.
And he's now 31, I believe.
He probably still calls it the lipstick song.
Probably.
But we won't judge. We don't judge. This is not a judgment. This is the Planet Fitness of podcasts, folks. This is judgment-free classic entertainment. All right. Well, listen, I think we've let people sit on this long enough. I think they're excited. I'm excited. I'm very curious because I'm going to be honest with you. I thought you were going to bust out Vanilla Ice for the number one, but it's your honorable mention.
Oh, no.
So you threw me for a loop there.
I've got a better one. I've got the quintessential number one.
All right. Well, then, for the love of God, Ryan, give it to me. What do you got for number one?
The ultimate song of asking consent You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer.
Yeah. It makes me so sad that he was a one-hit wonder, though, because I've seen him in like interview. He just seems like such a genuine good dude.
Oh, he's a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
Like when he lost all of his money because he was too generous.
Yeah.
When he was a musician, he was too generous, and he had one of the largest like groups of employees. I'm blanking on what it's called. He had one of the largest
like a
groups
payrolls,
that he employed.
like his payroll.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. This is gonna be hell for you to edit because of the fact that I can't talk right tonight.
I'm leaving this in. No, it's okay. I want people to know that you didn't know what a payroll was, so it's okay.
Yeah, it went over my head, I'm sure.
Listen,
but no, he had such a large payroll that he went bankrupt very quickly, and almost instantly after that, he quit the music industry. Well, he went to gangster rap for a little while. I don't know why he did that. But after that, he quit the music industry. And now, as far as I know, he is a preacher.
Yeah. So he's doing good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think he was he on like one of those like Surreal Life or whatever where like he like I feel like he was on one of those.
I don't think he was, but I know that there was a brief show about him.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Is he had a show about his family too, right? Like his whole.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
No,
but I think it was just a brief kind of.
They had a lot of those. Remember VH1 had all these like celebrity. I mean, I remember like Hogan Knows Best. That one actually lasted a few seasons, but you had like. I remember one, and I remember this vividly, and you know it's relevant because it was on VH1, so I'll count it. It was Back to School with Tommy Lee. Did you ever watch that?
Good God, no. Why would you want to take Tommy Lee to school?
I don't know, man, but I tell you what, because I only knew Tommy Lee
I don't think Tommy Lee knows what school is.
Well, and you know what? This didn't prove any different because, yeah, he was pretty out of it. But I only knew Tommy Lee from that fantastic sex tape that I always heard about, never saw Mom with Pamela Anderson. But I also knew he was a musician and a fantastic drummer for that matter. And so I was actually getting set to go into my first year of college the same year that he decides to go back to college in the show. So like I literally watched it like the week before I went to college. And so I'm like, all right, man, I'm gearing up for college. I'm going to watch it from the perspective of Tommy Lee. And then I realized that I didn't need to worry about anything because you know, he made it seem so much harder than it really was. But anyway, but the point being, there were so many of these celebrity family shows. There's like shows. Another one was like Viva La Bam, which again was fairly successful. I think that was MTV actually. But like you just had these people that were famous, and then they got what was the other one? With Dave Navarro and Carmen Electra, where they were getting married.
Oh, I remember that. I don't remember the name of it though.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of celebrity reality shows. All right, man. Dude, once again, so much fun. Obviously, we're going to do this again. We're going to talk about other stuff. We've already been kind of texting back and forth on different ideas for shows we can do together. And hey, I'd love to jump on your show again. I know we did. We recorded an episode a while back, but I'd love to jump on your show again.
Yeah,
too.
We'll release that a week after this comes out.
Absolutely. And so, just real quick on the Chaos in Conversation podcast. So, where can people find you at this point?
Everywhere now. Because we are finally the last frontier that we were trying to get on. We're finally on. We're finally on Apple Podcasts,
iTunes, or whatever it is called these days.
Well, yeah, Apple Podcasts. But yeah, that's where you can find me. It's just we're on a little bit of a hiatus right now because Amanda is in the process of getting her equipment set up fixed. But there are episodes that we still have to upload.
Absolutely.
But
including the one that I'm on with you.
Right. But the one thing that I do want to mention that I think we almost both forgot, back in the first episode, you and I talked a little bit about Coolio, about how we both met him.
Yep.
Now, we had recorded this so long ago that I don't think we knew this was coming.
No.
and I think you will agree with me, I want to dedicate this episode to Coolio.
Absolutely.
To the memory of Coolio. Because he was one of the biggest he was one of the big presences. I think that's a word. I don't know.
We'll say
it's
it
a
is.
word in my head.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
He was a big presence in the 90s.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
When it came to rap music.
Yep.
And to know that he was, I think, only in his 50s.
I think he was like 59, but
Yeah.
certainly very young, especially by today's standards, and very.
Yeah, it definitely, especially us growing up in the 90s, I think it threw a lot of us for a loop when that happened.
Yeah.
But
it was a shock. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
out there that, even if they're younger and they pass away, and you're like, you know what? I can't say I'm surprised. With Coolio, I definitely was surprised because by all accounts, I mean, he was a pretty good dude, and he didn't really seem to have many vices. At least, I mean,
no, he had definitely gotten away from a lot of what he supposedly was involved in. I don't even know if he really was.
Right.
But his image was becoming a lot cleaner, I guess, in the public eye.
Yeah. I know he had like a really fun, I think it's older, but he had a really fun cooking channel on YouTube a while back.
I think I heard of it. I never.
It's really good. If you can look up Coolio cooking videos, I mean, they're like probably 10 minutes a piece. But that's a good rabbit hole to go down because he's he's hilarious, and he's actually a good cook. Because I was looking at one of his recipes he did he did a deep fried turkey recipe, but he did like the prepping of the turkey beforehand and like what seasonings to put in and what marinade to put for the sauce to pour on it afterwards. And like, man, you know what? That's good. I can get behind this. So like he knows his stuff. So anyway, super surprised and saddened when that happened. And it was obviously a few weeks ago at this point. But it's, it's sad, So.
Keeping with a tradition that I want to start when I'm on your show, I want to reach out to your audience again, because I know last time I reached out to them and I said, to send you songs that would help you get to know them.
Yep.
In the spirit of the fact that this is still a music episode, I want to reach out to your audience and say that if they have the ability to go into their app store on their phone and download an app game called SongPop, there's SongPop Classic and there's SongPop 3 currently right now. I'll give you my information as to what my name is on there. I want to play against your audience because it's a music trivia game.
Okay.
And it is the most fun. I kind of get mouthy with my friend Chad just because I have direct access to him to yell at him.
Right.
But I get mouthy with him when he beats me. But I want to play this music trivia with your audience.
Okay.
So I'll have you put all of my information in the episode description.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just send that to me and I'll get that written up and it'll be there. So if you're listening to this podcast, you will see Ryan's information for SongPop, so you can square off against him and see if he can beat him.
Probably not.
I mean,
but good luck.
Listen, you are a veritable music encyclopedia, and I know music has always been a very big part of your life, which is why we did this as our first episode together. So, I know you don't like being pigeonholed, Ryan. You've reminded me countless times, but I feel like if I was going to do another music episode, I'm probably going to bring you back for it. Maybe not. We'll see.
I'm going to ask for one caveat.
Okay.
You bring Lou on.
Oh, I can bring Lou on.
Lou, I know you're listening to this episode when it comes out. I'm coming for you because you and I are going to debate. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I'm coming for you.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to be actually a little bit more polished for this episode than Lou was, but Lou, I'm impressed with Lou. Like, Lou, if you're listening to this, because I know you are, I am extremely impressed with how he is when it comes to the reason that he picks the things that he picks for the top 10,
yeah,
and how they connect to him and how he vocalizes it and how he explains it. I'm like, it makes me understand him, and I've never even met him, and I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely. Well, and the same thing with what you did today with your choices for the top 10 one-hit wonders. they have to be personal. That's the idea behind these. You know, I think you had one point mentioned like maybe you would do like the top 10 concerts of the 90s or whatever. But I'm like, you know what?
I think that overloaded my brain when I looked at
Well,
it.
not only that, but at the same time, that's factual, right? That's not. I want opinions. I want these lists to be your perspective because I guarantee you, somebody else from the list you gave here today is going to be able to relate to at least one of the songs you gave, and so you've just made a connection with somebody else. And I think that's what's important about the guest list. I think that's it's what's important about this podcast, and it's been proven music has been a fantastic medium to be able to make those connections. Now, I'm hoping that we can continue to ride that way with future episodes and making connections with other topics. Music was definitely, I think we knocked it out of the park, though. Just saying.
I do have one question for you.
Okay.
Because I think this is something that your audience would love to hear. Judging from the fact that we recorded the first episode so long ago, but we're recording this one now, based on the fact that you looked at your analytics and you have now gotten over, I think you said 600 downloads.
I just passed 600 today, yeah.
Being that we are in almost at the end of October and you actually started recording in August, seeing what your podcast has done in such a short time, if you could put it into words, what does that mean to you where you were, as you know, conceptualizing this versus where you are now at such a short span of time?
So, I mean, I got to tell you, man, I've mentioned this before. I've thought about doing a podcast for a very long time. And I always was wondering, well, what is it I would talk about? I don't know. Like, what do I really know about that I can connect with people on consistently? Because I could have a one-off show randomly to talk about something. But if I'm going to put out a consistent product, you know, that's what I'm calling this, is a product. What is something that I can constantly deliver on? And so I said, well, what do I know better than anything else? I know what it was like to grow up during the certain time period. And so the point being, you know, the fact that we've put out, this is technically officially episode 7.5, but I think I've put out 13 or 14 episodes released that people have downloaded. I have a weird way of numbering the episodes, and that'll change eventually, because what I'm going to eventually probably do is put the guest list straight in the episode topic themselves. So every week will be a unique topic. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. The fact that I've gotten 600 downloads in less than 3 months, to me, is amazing, because I was looking at my statistics and I saw not only people, you know, that I knew were like local to me or friends or family, because I could tell, like, oh, okay, in Georgia where I live, like, okay, a lot of my friends are here, they're going to download here. Or up in New York, I've got a lot of people that download that, you know, I knew from back home. I've got people downloading my show in Germany, in England. I think one of them is in Brazil. I don't know if they'll ever download again. I can't really tell. But that's really cool that somebody gave that a shot. And I remember I watched a YouTube video, because I did research on like how to start a podcast before I did. Part of that was talking to you, obviously, as far as what you did. But I also found, I went on and just did some research. And the big thing people kept saying is, if you see numbers that look like they may be disappointing because you're used to seeing numbers like you would see on like YouTube, where you get the millions of views, you know, don't be disappointed. Think of it like this. If you have 60 downloads on one of your episodes of your podcast, that is 60 people that if you were to put into a room, imagine if you had a party at your house and 60 different people came to your house for that party. That's how many people listened to that one episode just for you. They literally, you can compare it to radio, where like, oh yeah, I can be on the radio, so I can do podcasting. People aren't listening to the radio for me, at least not for me personally. I know people necessarily weren't tuning into the radio for me. They were tuning in for the music. And
I was, Dan.
Oh, stop. You would tolerate me for 30 seconds between songs, and I did a good job, and it was great. People are actually listening to these episodes because they want to hear what I have to say, and they want to hear what my guest has to say, and they want to hear the discussion that we have. I got a text from my friend literally 2 days ago, and the feedback she gave me, so Cam, if you're listening to this, thank you. She said, it just feels like two people chilling and hanging out. And that's what I want this to feel like, is I want this to feel like we're sitting back and we're talking about the good old days and how, you know, it was so great back then, and I'm sure there's other people out there that can feel the same way. So the fact that I have sometimes, you know, 40 to 60 is where I'm averaging right now. I'd love to get those numbers up, obviously, but the fact that I'm getting 40 to 60 unique listens on these shows that people want to hear what I have to say, I mean, it's overwhelmingly awesome for me. I can't even explain it because, in this short amount of time, I've got a following and I want to keep it going. And it just, every time I see those numbers tick up, I get so excited. I can't wait to record the next one because, it may flop, but it might be awesome. And either way, it's so much fun to do. So, if you are one of those listeners that's been listening since the start, thank you so much. Truly. You're the best. You're the reason I do this. And if this is the first episode you're trying out, welcome. And if you're somebody that told me that you were going to listen to my podcast and you haven't listened to a single episode yet, you are dead to me.
Oh, I'm not even that mean. Wow, dude.
Just kidding. All right, man. Listen, we got to wrap this up.
I know.
All right, dude.
One more question.
Oh, God. Okay, what?
What has this process taught you about yourself?
That I am very long-winded, but I also get very exhausted if I'm talking for an hour straight.
And this is why he probably won't have me on too many times.
No, I'll just keep you in line more, and we'll focus on less tangents and just get to the point. No, I'm just kidding. No,
don't make promises you can't keep, Dan.
No, but what has it taught me about myself? In all seriousness, I think it's made me realize that the more I get into a conversation with somebody, the more thoughts will start coming out that I didn't think I had. It could be subtle things or memories. I think that's been the biggest thing so far with each episode is some kind of memory has triggered in my head that was unlocked through something that, you or Lou or Dan, one of my guests has said to me during the episode that I go, oh my God, I totally forgot that I knew that. Like you listed a couple of songs. I totally forgot I remembered those songs. And now I'm like, oh my God, I want to go listen to those songs now. And in fact, what I'd love for you to do, if you can, is if you could share out your top 10 list to the Generation S Facebook page, because I want other people to listen to those songs as well. Because I think it would be a lot of fun. But I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is that there's so many things that I can tap into just by having these conversations. So honestly, I'm having a blast just, reigniting parts of my brain that have been long since dormant.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that we're going to be discussing on my show is the psychology of nostalgia.
Yep.
And how it relates to mental health.
Yep.
And I think that was a perfect encapsulation of how it may, have affected your mental health in a positive way.
Yeah, some kind of chemicals getting released up there as we're talking through stuff. So, awesome, man. Well, listen, Ryan, once again, thank you so much. Absolutely going to have you back on the show. You know that, though. We've talked about this. So
thank you for tolerating me.
I will tolerate you again and again, my friend. We've known each other a long time now, and it's been a lot of fun because, again, you've been super helpful in helping me get this up and going, and I've always given me great feedback. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, check us out on Facebook, on YouTube. We are on Instagram, but I'll be honest, that page is not getting a lot of love right now. That's on me. Hopefully, I'll start to build that up as well. And make sure you have subscribed to this show. If you enjoy hearing us just talk about stuff from the 90s, give it a subscribe. I don't know if it's you hit the bell, whatever they call it, but hit subscribe so you'll get notified when the new episode drops. It's supposed to be every Wednesday, but just in case I throw out a bonus episode in a couple weeks, hint hint, you'll know about it. So and more importantly, just keep telling people about it. If you want people that you grew up with to hear all about this time period, just let them know to give it a shot. We would love to have I'd love to have new listeners, but we would love to have new input on the show and new ears. So thank you once again for listening to this one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.